Struggling to motivate your music students? Today's guest reveals a secret weapon for boosting engagement and fostering a love of music in the classroom: self-determination theory. We'll explore how to apply this powerful concept to create a music class where students feel empowered, autonomous, and intrinsically motivated to make beautiful music.
Welcome to Pass the Baton, Empowering Students in Music Education. Here, we amplify the voices of music teachers around the world who are passing the baton and creating environments where the music students are empowered. Together, we can help students transform from passive consumers to vibrant creatives. Welcome back to the Pass the Baton podcast. I'm Catherine Finch.
And I'm Teresa Hoover, and we are so glad that you are joining us today. So, Catherine, I know that I kind of sprung this guest on you and said, oh my goodness, she's going to talk about self-determination theory. I don't remember. Did you think I was crazy, or did you know what that was at the time?
No, it was like in the back of my head, maybe with a cobweb on it, like, oh, wait, I've heard this before, but what is this?
Yeah.
But yeah, you jogged my memory a little bit. I mean, I know reading Daniel Pink's book, like, oh yes, that's where I got it from.
Right. Yeah. And we both, we both love Drive, one of Dan Pink's books, and which is based on, the self-motivation theory, which is Dichi and Ryan are the ones who came up with that. But so it was really great to hear somebody talking about this theory, which she's going to, go into wonderful details about, but also how it is practically applied in the classroom. And I thought that was the biggest strength of Jessie's interview. She not only helped us to understand what it is, but also what it looks like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And specifically like a middle school band classroom. I mean, I know I could transfer some of those things into my elementary room when I was listening to her, but yes, like the realness of like, all right, but now you've got middle schoolers, go. Like, how do you translate that,
Because sometimes it's not as easy to picture. So she did a really nice job. And like you said, you can still think about, oh, this is what high school choir might look like. This is what might look like in elementary school. And I appreciated that realness. And I felt she was very real with us. Like, here are the things and here's how it worked. And this is what it looked like. And I was definitely taking notes because there's things that I want to just dive into a little bit more when I'm thinking about what the middle school band room can look like.
Yeah.
All right. Well, before we get to the interview, do you feel like you're drowning in lesson plans and wish that you had a musical support system in your corner? Well, grab your favorite mug because we have just the thing for you, and that's the Pass the Baton Coffee Club.
For less than the cost of that fancy latte, you'll unlock a treasure trove of free resources. Get invited to our monthly planning parties, think virtual coffee break with amazing lesson ideas, and score sweet discounts on music education goodies in our store.
Or if you just want to lend a hand to the Pass the Baton mission of empowering music teachers and music students, you can become a supporter, only $2 a month.
Think of it as a way to fuel your passion, elevate your teaching, and connect with a vibrant community of music educators.
So be sure to check out the link. It's in the show notes. You can learn more and you can join the coffee club today. You deserve it. Okay, welcome back. We are so excited to be joined today by Jessie Peterson. Hi, Jessie. How are you today?
Hey, I'm great. Thanks for having me.
Of course. I was really excited to read an article that you wrote in the Women Band Directors Journal. I think we've made so many great connections through WBDI. So shout out to WBDI everywhere. And I'm really glad that you were willing to come and talk to us today. So this is going to be an exciting conversation, I know.
Thank you. Yeah. WBDI is really personal to me. I am very proud to be a founding member of the North Carolina chapter. Awesome. And thank you to Melanie Watson for encouraging me to write this article.
Yeah, very good.
And just for the music teachers that are general music, what does that stand for?
Women Band Directors International.
Awesome.
Good.
Now the general music teacher knows what's going on. Yeah.
Yes. And the band world is predominantly male. And so we're very happy and proud to have our network up and running for support of women all over.
Yeah, that's really awesome. Would you mind introducing yourself a little bit more and telling us about, your background and current position?
Yeah, I'm Jessie Peterson. I have been teaching middle school band for about 6.5 years now. I did my undergraduate in music education at Appalachian State University and my master's in music ed at the University of North Carolina, Greensboro. And I'm now in the teaching and learning PhD program at Clemson University. Through my career, I've done a lot with marching band as like a woodwind tech. I was very into marching band in college. And just couldn't give that up for a while. And so, but I love the middle school band world. I love them. They are brutally honest at all times. And I love being able to start students on their instruments. That used to terrify me. I always thought I wanted to be a high school band director because I didn't want to mess kids up from the beginning. But it really turned out to be the age group that I vibe with the most and really love. So yeah,
that's great.
Just a little bit about what I do.
So in your school, the students start band is that 6th grade then?
6th grade, yes. I am at Kannapolis Middle School. I'm sorry, I forgot to say that. Kannapolis Middle School in Kannapolis, North Carolina.
Awesome. That's very cool. Yeah, I'm with you. And then I loved the middle school age. They were so much fun, and just you could have a serious conversation with them, but you could also be a complete goofball, and both of those things worked.
Yes, absolutely.
That's awesome. Well, the article that I read and the one that you wrote for the journal had to do with self-determination theory. And as soon as I read it, I went, oh, I love this. This is great. And I was all excited. But I know that not everybody knows about this particular theory. So could you maybe share what is it and what drew you in that direction?
Yeah, so one of the very first classes I took as part of my doctoral program at Clemson was a motivation and engagement class with Dr. Jacqueline Malloy. And it really drew me into how we motivate our students, which is a huge topic in band, especially with retention and recruitment. And so one of the theories that we talked about the most was self-determination theory. And self-determination theory has 3 main components: autonomy, competence, and relatedness. And those are the main tenets that will motivate a student's intrinsic motivation. And so competence is the need to master a specific environment. Autonomy is how they can exert control or agency within that environment. And relatedness is how the feeling and the need to belong within that environment. And those really spoke to me in our band setting specifically. And I'm sure we'll talk more about that later. Yeah. But overall, the main thing that drew me to self-determination theory was when I was reflecting on my beginning years as a teacher. I made probably all of the mistakes when I tried to motivate my students that every young teacher does. I thought, okay, if I give them a piece of candy, they're going to want to be in my class and they're going to do everything. And it works until it doesn't. Slowly, I learned the more extrinsic motivation tactics I would use, the less motivated they would be and the more they expected those specific things. And that's not the kind of teacher I wanted to be. And that's not the kind of students that I wanted to foster. And so I thought, okay, how can I use their strengths to recruit and foster a great environment that's going to want to be here? And that's where self-determination theory came into play. How do I get them to want to be here? And so that's kind of the background of what got me interested in it.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah. I think when I started reading about that, like I felt like, one question was just like, what are the sticks and carrots that you have embedded in your day, right? And it's like schools, there are a ton of them in schools, right? Like a lot of extrinsic motivations that we just do because we've always done, and it's like you said, like then you just kind of have to take a moment to be like, okay, do those, sometimes they really, well, short term, they do work short time, but short term. But then I guess the idea is like, but I want lifelong learners. I want, lifelong musicians, easy, possibly easy and just short-term way works. But is that what I was going to work long-term for my kids? Cause that's my goal, is I want them long-term to own their musicianship. So yeah, it's awesome to reflect that way, because it's kind of really necessary. If you want them to be lifelong learners, you want them to have that inner motivation.
And that's something that all students and all people, it's innate within us. When you think about infants, I have an 11-month-old now. You think about infants, they want to do something and they want to master it and they want to succeed. And they're going to try over and over again until they get it, even if they fail a couple times. And we need to keep fostering that for our students, even as they get older, because it's an innate quality within us that we have.
Mm-hmm. And the same is true for us as teachers too, right? Mm-hmm. If you think about how many extrinsic things are frequently in the schools, like, oh, well, if you do this thing, you can wear jeans. Like, really? Like, is that going to really motivate me to do the thing? Yeah, it might the first time, but then the second time I might not care, but so we have to, as teachers, also feel that same amount of autonomy and to feel the competence. Like, all of that is necessary for us as adults, and it's going to be necessary for them as students, Yeah. We were talking, before we hit record, like, I first kind of became aware of and interested in this idea through Dan Pink's work in the book Drive. His book is based on self-determination theory. He talks about autonomy, mastery, and purpose, but it's just the same kind of ideas. Like, everybody and all humans, that's what they need. So very cool.
Yeah. So I guess let's switch over to music, like a music situation. So what would self-determination theory look like in a middle school music room?
So for autonomy, I think about goals. How are we setting our goals? Within a band program specifically, I personally believe that the student input is top priority, especially at middle school, because that's how you get them to buy in. If they want to be there and they want to set their own goals, they're going to want to achieve them. And so I love to have student input in helping set goals and have them actually track their own progress. So something specific to middle school band, nobody's unfamiliar with, are pass-off lines or scale tests or playing tests. We all call them different things. We all do them. Something to check in with our students. And so for me in my classroom, I don't know, have you guys ever heard of Chris Ferguson? He's a local composer here in North Carolina. If you haven't, Chris is incredible. He's a close personal friend, and he has incredible resources for all directors on his website, Chris Ferguson. Okay. And he came up with a system a long time ago that I swear by. It's genius. And he does sticker sheets with his students because middle schoolers love stickers. Instead of getting a grade, they get their sticker. So grades are not necessarily the motivating factor. And students have multiple attempts to pass off anything. And their pass off results in a sticker. So they're getting the competency. They're setting their goals of how many stickers do you want to get on your sheet today? They determine when they want to do their tests to try and pass it off. So there's a lot of choice options within this whole process that allows students to have the control over their learning and the motivation behind it. And so Chris really helped me understand as a beginning teacher that students need the choices. The stickers are a little bit of the extrinsic part of motivation, but it does take the eyes off of a grade and puts it more on a mastery-based and less of a grade-based. That's something I firmly believe in as an educator. I want students to try as many times as they have to master the specific content rather than get the grade the first time.
Yes. 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 I can't say yes enough time. Right. Because it's not about the letter grade. It's about what did you learn? How far have you gotten from your point A to your point B? That to me is so much more valuable than like, you got a 96% or whatever it is, because what does that even mean? Right.
Yeah.
But
kids can probably, even when they look at their sheets, say like, well, I started here because I felt confident with this, but then I tried this next, or I don't know, like it would almost be, to me, it would, without seeing one before, it might even be evidence like of their path of how they went, which sounds really cool.
Yeah, it's really cool because you can see like, okay, some people started with this scale, somebody played this song, but they're all going to go at their own level at their own time. And something that I do that might be a little different than other people, when I first started teaching, I said, okay, we're going to go down the line and we're going everybody's gonna play your B flat scale. Okay. And we go straight down the row so that I keep track. Okay, this person had their grade, this person, this person. That reflects Lordy's apprenticeship of observation theory, which means that we teach the way we've been taught.
Yes.
And that's a very Western European traditional, how most of us grew up in a band setting. We all did playing tests straight down the row for everybody in the class, that kind of situation. And something the pandemic really taught me was we don't have to. And so students can do pass off lines when everybody else is warming up. Students can come try and pass something up when everybody's packing up. Or if we're in the middle of a transition and they're like, hey, Miss Peterson, I really want to try this right now. Can I? And I'm like, yes, because you have the confidence to do it right now and you made that choice and you're going to put yourself out there. Let's do it. And so I think having that sort of learning environment also helps foster the relatedness because it feels safer to them. Safer to take a risk, take a chance. They're not worried about playing in front of their peers. And I've noticed that my ensemble sounds better because their confidence has improved individually with playing.
Yeah, that's so huge. I could even think I was playing in an ensemble last semester, and I remember one day the conductor, went down the line for the tuning note, and it got to me, and like I'm shaking, going, I've been teaching for how long? And I'm shaking to play the tuning note right now because it's scary, right? So the fact that students have the option to play for you when it's the best time for them, that's awesome. Yeah, that's just like all those little things.
Yeah.
So cool. Well, we kind of went through all of them a little bit. What else? Tell us more about the middle school band room.
Let's see. A big thing for me is students having the choice of instrument and the flexibility to change.
Ooh.
I know a lot of middle school band directors are like, okay, I need 10 flutes and 22 clarinets and a certain amount of each instrument. And I've only taught in Title I schools and have never had that flexibility to just say, you're going to play a clarinet. It's just not what I have in my situation. And sometimes I have to be like, you have to play this instrument because that's the school instrument I have available for you right now.
Yeah.
But most of the time, I love to give students the option to change because I think that humans are very flexible if we want to be. And it's important for our band rooms to adapt, especially in middle school. That's, I think, like you think about the instrument rental programs, how they can switch instruments without the money being lost. It goes to the next one. And I think that giving students the option to change helps keep them there if something wasn't exactly what they wanted the first time.
Yes. So I know somebody's going to be like, yeah, but how do you do it? So you've got a kid who's taken 6 months of lessons on this with you, and then suddenly he wants to play. Maybe just give us a little bit of like the practical, what's it look like? Because I'm totally with you. This is a good idea. And I was very similar, but give us the details.
So it's messy at first. It doesn't go right away. It really doesn't. Yeah. And it's never an easy transition. Like, oh, you have a trumpet player that really wants to play French horn. That's easy. No, it's usually like the clarinet player that's like, give me the trombone. And it's a completely different embouchure. And so things that I've found a lot of the time that help me are student leaders that want to help their friends. Okay. Also, my students are automatically more motivated to practice and try harder if they're playing the instrument they want to play. If they really hated the clarinet, they're not going to practice, and it's going to be very evident. And so when I switch them over to the trombone, I usually start by having them go in a separate setting with one of their friends. And most of the time they're switching an instrument because their friend plays it. Yeah. And a lot of the time that friend is going to be like, let me show you everything, which not only strengthens the new student, but if a student can teach their peer, they automatically can demonstrate more knowledge and grow faster too. And so that's been a whole, like I use a lot of peer mentoring in my teaching. I'm also very fortunate to have a high school band director that can come over and help So
That's
if I do
nice.
have a student that switches, I can be like, hey, this student really, really wants to try this. Can you help them?
Yeah.
I also have a lot of ed reps that come in and are willing to help any day.
Oh, that's nice. But the point to the students, yeah, the students, we can use them for so many things. And like you said, it's good for both of them. It's good for the one teaching and the one learning.
Especially in middle school, I feel like our middle school students don't have a lot of leadership opportunities. They're, especially the younger middle school, even on sports teams and things like that, which I know middle school band students, a lot of them do play sports and things like that. They're not usually the captains because they just started. In middle school, they just started everything. And so it's important to give them something to work towards, something to help others with, and a place to really shine. And usually those are the students that will continue through high school too.
Yeah. I think it makes me think of two things when you say that. Like, one, sometimes because they don't have those leadership roles, they don't see themselves as being able to have that. But when they are willing to please you and help somebody else, they learn that they have, oh yeah, there is a lot of things that I've learned as a new student or a new, band student. But also, when I think back to my kids in elementary school that are just starting a band or orchestra program, they are so excited to want to share what they've learned, right? So like, I mean, I have kids come into my general classroom. Can I play? I've been playing the violin or whatever for, 2 weeks now. Can I play for you? Exercise number 3. Yes, you can, So, yeah, I just think kids would jump at that and would love that. And yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah.
Oh. Any other fun like descriptors or like things that you do in your classroom that you feel like has come out of a result of thinking about self-determination theory?
One big thing, I go back to the goal setting.
Yeah.
I don't determine what festivals or contests we go to. My students do.
Okay.
I explained every single one of them, everything from our typical like all county, all district, all state options to our MPA, which is our state contest, music performance adjudication for those in other states, not North Carolina. We have Carowinds Festival of Music, which is our local amusement park festival. And I explained every single festival, any performance opportunity they have, the possible concert opportunities, and I say, okay, what do we want to do? And I usually put it back on the students. And there are always a few students that are terrified to get on the stage and they're like, I want to do that thing. I took this class because it would be fun. That sounds scary. And then all of their friends by the end of it convince them that it's not. I always tell them, I'm like, you're on stage with 60 of your closest friends. Nobody's staring at you. Right. And so in our discussion, and it's always a full band discussion, I'm like, okay, so what do we want to do? How hard do we want to work? And what music do we think we want to play? I give them multiple options. I do not just let them loose on J.W. Pepper and say, please choose a concert because they're in middle school and that won't work.
Yeah.
But I am very open to whatever suggestions they have.
Yeah.
And then within flexibility of contest requirements, of course, we then negotiate down to what we can and cannot actually perform an ability level. But I think it's really important for my students to determine what performances we're going to do so that they know what goals we're working towards. And then what music do you want to play? Because we're going to play it for months and months, forever. And how many different sets of music a year do you want to do? I've been at schools where we've done 4 concerts a year, and in the middle school level, that's a bit much sometimes. And then I've been at schools like the COVID year was a great example because there were not performance pressures. Yeah. Right. And so we were able to focus more on technique and building every student individually and giving very specific feedback. And that really taught me, okay, well, if we slow down a little bit, we can raise the band program up because everybody gets that feedback all the time. And so that kind of knocked me down to about like 2 or 3 concerts a year. And last year, especially, I was on maternity leave for the first half of the year. And we did not have a music sub for that whole semester, which is
Okay.
heartbreaking, but it happened, and I'm living proof that a music program can keep going. And so when we came back, my students were ready to rock and roll. And we did MPA, we did Carowinds, we did 2 or 3 local concerts. They just wanted to do it all because they hadn't been doing things for a semester.
Yeah.
And I was ready to take it slow and ease back into things. And they were like, no, Miss Peterson, we're doing everything. And they did because they chose to do it. And so I think that their choice in what we do has to be the most important factor. If you have a group of students that is coasting, they get to second semester, 8th grade year, and they are ready for high school, you don't get as much accomplished, and then everybody's frustrated. But if you get that right group of students that are like, no, we're going to take it to the next level. Then I say jump on that train and just go. I'm very fortunate. That was my 7th grade this past year. They were ready to kick it into gear. So
that's awesome.
I think student choice is huge.
Yeah. And just the fact that you are willing to listen to them, that means a lot. And I think for them to be able to feel like, oh, she heard me. She heard what I had to say. And she's, like that's big, because how often in middle school do you feel like you actually have a voice that someone's going to listen to?
True. And like, if you go into math, you don't get to choose what you learn. No. They're going to tell you every little bit of it. Same with any core subject. And so I think that that's the amazing flexibility that we have in music programs specifically, that we can adapt to the needs of our students. And like I said before, I teach in, I've only taught in Title I middle schools. And so I think it's really important to be culturally relevant to my students.
Yes.
And to honor their backgrounds and their cultures, and to find music that fosters their values and really honors them.
Yeah. So, what are some of the, you've mentioned that you feel like your bands sound even better. What are some of the other benefits that you've noticed as you've been kind of shifting towards this type of teaching?
Yeah, so probably the hugest is retention. When I came into my middle school band program 2 years ago at my current school, we had 54 students, and I'm excited to say, and a little sad to say, I had to turn a couple students away this year because of size, but we had over 250 register.
Wow.
Oh my goodness.
It's incredible. It's a lot for one director.
Yeah.
But it's incredible. Just the growth. I have gotten to have 2 band rooms because of the size of our program.
Yeah.
So yeah.
You will be using those student leaders, those student mentors, all of that.
They're very necessary. We have seen a lot of retention up to the high school level as well.
Oh, that's
awesome.
So our high school band program is growing, which warms my heart. I love to see students continue. I tell them all the time that music might not be their career in the future, but I want them to keep it in their lives. And to see them continue to play just warms my heart.
I think that's the biggest thing, is if we can just be helping to have lifelong musicians, lovers of music, all of those things. We don't need more professionals. We're probably good on that one, but we need this many, and we even had a guest on, I think it was season 2, who talked about like the need for more amateurism, right? And just to be like fostering that kind of love. Yeah, that's awesome to be able to think about like your program growing so much and the kids just loving it. That's why we do this.
Yeah. For them to be able to find their place. There's a lot of students that band is your safe place. That's kind of why I got into it. It was my safe place in school. And so to be able to have that kind of inclusive environment where they feel safe, that's where they want to be. It's really great.
Yeah. Well, when, writing our book, Pass the Baton, we had this Things You Can Try Tomorrow, which we get a lot of people that say is a really nice feature, because it's really nice to be able to take something you read and try it, the next day, or try it very soon. So is there something that you would offer, that you could offer the listeners about something you might want to try tomorrow when thinking about this topic?
Yeah, when I think about self-determination theory, I think a lot about choice, challenge, collaboration. That was the title of my article. So choices, students need more choices. Like I said, they can have everything from the very beginning of instrument choices and choices to change to any literature, anything they're working on, even the structure of a rehearsal. They can choose. I mean, yes, we need warm-ups, but that can be a lot of different things. And so to be able to give them options, do we use a chorale today? Do we do long tones? Do we play scales? Do we do something where we pass it around the room? Does everybody play in unison? So to be able to give them choices, challenge, find something that's going to challenge your students specifically within their zone of proximal development. I know a lot of us come out of college and immediately want to play masterworks with our students because we're so used to that college mindset. And that's not going to happen in middle school. We're going to play hot cross buns. It's going to happen. And so I think to find something that's going to challenge your students at their specific level, but know that not every student's going to be at that level. So maybe you have a piece of music that has multiple parts, like a flex arrangement, and you can have them at different ability levels, but they're also making music together. And that goes with the collaboration. Give them different ways to collaborate, whether that's a full ensemble, they are in peer mentor groups working together. Maybe they want to do a small ensemble group. My 7th grade woodwind class loves to be able to start and stop together like a chamber ensemble. They'll play the same music that we would in a full rehearsal, but I can walk around the room and fix things and they start and stop each other. They just really wanted that autonomy and they can collaborate and make it happen. And so that's what we do. And then a fourth factor that I would probably add would be relevance. There's a lot of music that we play that maybe isn't as relevant for our specific settings. And that goes back to my culturally responsive pedagogy background, that different students need different things. And it's important as the director to get to know your students to know what they need.
Yeah. Yes to all of it. Like I just keep saying that over and over again. Yeah, I think that's so important because like you mentioned, we come out of college with this great wealth of knowledge of all the masterworks and all of that, but we have to remember that the humans in front of us, that might not be the most relevant. It doesn't mean we throw the masterworks out the window, right? We
got to build up to them.
Yeah. Yep. And we mix that in with everything else that we do. Yeah. Oh, well, this has been so awesome. And I appreciate that you've been able to talk us through like actual theory and research, but then the practical elements of it. 'Cause I think that's the stuff that's so valuable when we can hear like what to do with it and what it actually looks like in a real classroom. So thank you so much. If the listeners wanted to connect with you and kind of learn more, how could they do that?
Yeah, my email is the best way to contact me, and that is Peterson, Peterson, Jessie, Jessie, Lynn, Lynn @gmail.com. So
Awesome.
Peterson, Jessie Lynn @gmail.com.
Very good. And then I will probably ask you when we get off if you can give us the link to the to Chris Ferguson's website as well, and we'll put both of those things together in the show notes so people can access. They can get in contact with you. They can find the resources that you were talking about and all that good stuff. And maybe we'll even throw some other good self-determination theory links in there too for them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. We really appreciate your time and just being willing to share all this with our listeners. I know that they're going to love it.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for joining us. If you have found value in our conversation, please hit that like button, subscribe to our podcast, and leave a review. Your feedback means the world to us and helps us grow our community of passionate music educators.